In global market news today, Lisa Cook says that her firing by Trump puts the US economy at risk and it was all due to a clerical error. Jobless figures are down to 229,000 last week, and the US economy grew at 3.3%, stronger than anticipated. The probability of a rate cut on the 17th of September is currently 87.2%. It was 88.7% yesterday. Lisa Cook does not want to go silently into the night. The US GDP growth rate was revised from 0.3 to 3.3, quite a revision. The US has the highest GDP in the world. The highest growth rate GDP countries are from Algeria down to around Indonesia. And the lowest is unfortunately Venezuela, and look at that inflation rate. Talking about inflation rates, we think it's really bad, but can you imagine if you were in Venezuela or Sudan or South Sudan, you've got literally triple-digit inflation. But in some countries, we have deflation. That's a negative inflation rate. Looking at the main markets, in the past trading session, tech did pretty well. Consumer electronics, internet communication services, internet retail, not too bad. Healthcare was down, utilities was down. And discount stores, they took a whack. If you're into the futures market, and hey, why not? Let's have a look at the global index futures. They're currently up. And these cover actually in the entire world. We can see the 2-year and 5-year and 10-year are just moderately up. The 2-year is moderately down. The metals are coming up. And it looks like coffee is about to get cheaper. And not to mention orange juice, down 5.74%. Some interesting news today in the crypto market. The US government tapped Chainlink and PYTH to publish economic data on-chain. PYTH just jumped up like hell. Chainlink, not so much. Looking into the crypto market, we can see that Bitcoin is currently down 0.35%. It's currently 111,965. Solana's been doing quite well, as has CRO. You can see down here, Link is 1.18%. Getting a little bit of green out of the market with good old ENA. ENA is a really interesting project. And if we drill down into blockchain infrastructure, you can see PYTH is up 61%. Well done. Also of note, RLC is up and also Cartesi. Having a look across the crypto market in the past 24 hours, we can see that Solana is the best performer currently in terms of the top 8. XRP currently the worst performer in the top 8. Let's have a look at the greatest gainers in the past 24 hours. There's good old PYTH up in front, followed by Kronos and Conflux. What about going the other way? What are the greatest losers? Aero, Hype, SPX. Inside the crypto market, there's been a moderate uptick in open interest and a decrease across liquidations. The average RSI across the entire market is 49.79. Gold futures are slightly up, the US dollar slightly down, Bitcoin dominance slightly up. If you're wondering why Ethereum's price went down, a lot of longs got their, well, they got basically whacked. And across the entire market, $262.36 million worth of total liquidations, and the longs were dominating. It's good to zoom out and have a look at the pulse of global markets. We can see global markets since April have been coming up. Bitcoin has been a little bit weak. That's that yellow line. And you can see Bitcoin is in a bit of a downtrend. Now, with the revision of the GDP, we may find that things start to kick up. Now, we have to look at how the major market indexes in the US are going. So far, so good. We can see that the Nasdaq has actually done a positive cutover. The Dow has also been looking quite good. It is fair that other global market indexes have been really shaky. In terms of US liquidity, we can see that US liquidity isn't getting injected into the crypto and stock market ecosystems just yet. Liquidity typically occurs when the markets need a boost. And even when they get a boost, if they're coming down, you can see you can get continued weakness. But if they're going up at the time and they get boosted like this, it's generally pretty good. Looking into volatility on the 8-hour basis, we can see that the S&P 500 futures have been doing really well. They're actually undergoing a breakout at the current time. Also, the bond market is fairly optimistic, and the volatility, the VIX, when we invert it, and that's what you really want to do. If you see people putting the VIX on just uninverted, it doesn't throw any signal. You actually want to invert the VIX. Bitcoin has been pretty weak, and it's been pretty weak for a fairly good period of time. Bitcoin is highly risk sensitive. Looking from a retail perspective, what people would be looking at, just not using the CTKS method, they would say there's support around that 112,522 mark. This is called recent indicative price, or RIP analysis, and it will RIP your money because it's not where the structure is. But it doesn't mean that we don't look at it. Remember that around that 105, a lot of people were saying this is the last stand for Bitcoin, the last level of support, and that is absolute trash. If we see Bitcoin coming down more, you'll hear a lot about this 105 level. Beware, there's no structural support around the 105. The one thing that you must keep in mind, if you look at this, we're in a downtrend. A lot of people are just treating everything like alt season at the current time. You must pay attention to price reality. Why? Because it is the reality of the price. All markets are intercorrelated and interconnected, with the US market reporting really good, strong GDP growth, and the earnings season has been good. Nvidia came out with its earnings and beat market expectations. So all of these things favor a upward surge in Bitcoin, but not a surge like a lot of people think. A surge is kind of like this. People expect a God candle. Every time the price goes green, it's a God candle. If it goes red, it's a hell candle. It's generally neither. It's just a candle. And the issue is, price is always moving in a wave. It's going up and down, and this is on a daily basis. But on an intraday basis, it's always going up and down as well. When people are not trained in finance, they think any movement above a previous all-time high creates price discovery. Anybody in the finance industry knows that this is not correct. There is always resistance above a previous all-time high. Now on the S&P 500, we've just broken over that previous all-time high. I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to put the structure on so you can see what professionals can see. It's kind of like having Bloomberg Terminal, but for TA. Just before we zoom in, I'm just going to put this previous all-time high here. Just note the value there. Now I've just changed from the daily basis to the hourly basis. You can see that previous all-time high. And you can also see that in the background, that blue line is Bitcoin. It's giving a directional modification on where the S&P 500 is going. Now, technically, above a previous all-time high, there should be no resistance, or that's what retail thinks. Don't forget, retail is another word for loses money consistently. Now, let's basically pop on the Bloomberg terminal of TA. Okay, let's pop this indicator on. Now, what it's telling us is that around that 65.20 mark, there's overhead structural resistance. And you can see it's not the only level of resistance. When we look at the previous all-time high of 64.81, we can see 64.88 and a little bit just below 6,500 is also an area of structure. The difference between retail and professionals know retail guesses, and recent indicative price is the best way to guess. One thing to just bear in mind, looking at the futures of the S&P 500, the Dow, the Russell, and the Nasdaq, we've seen this weakness inside Bitcoin. And that weakness you can also see when we just zoomed in on the S&P 500. It was actually following. And that's what it does from a directional stance. Now we're noting a little bit of weakness coming out in the Dow, also weakness coming out in the Nasdaq. As we approach the weekend, this is going to be really important to keep your eye on. I'd like to thank all the members of our global family who've gone into YouTube, put that @ sign in and said keep the CTKS method and hit the search, gone to playlists and played these songs. This is a new way of learning, a new way of sharing experience to help you to understand how the markets actually work. All of this music has a lot of wisdom inside it. Please check those songs out. It's absolutely free to listen to and it will make you money, guaranteed. Maybe not at once, but when you get the lessons inside that music, it's a game changer. And please let me know your experience with this music in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Some charts that are pretty good to keep your eye on. When we look at the Bitcoin longs and the Bitcoin shorts, we can see that the longs literally dropped out of the market. And if you were looking at BNB's chart and trying to figure out why BNB dropped like a brick, that's the reason. Also, the shorts have been slowly climbing up. The longs, like Lisa Cook, are not going silently into the night. They're also coming up. But the shorts are getting more and more confident. To get exponential runs up, you need the shorts to pile on. And those big dips that we often see are as a result of the longs getting too cocky. The longs and the shorts basically balance each other out, so it's not a bad idea to keep an eye on them. Now that we've got all of that fantastic information, we can just look into the structural levels on Bitcoin. Let's throw on our Bloomberg terminal because it is literally institutional grade knowledge. And let's now see where the structure is across crypto's major asset class. One thing to keep in your mind, if you can't get above a specific level, you're going down to the level below. But if you get above it, you're going to the one above. But if a structural failure occurs, the one below will catch you, unless there's wholesale panic. Currently, Bitcoin is 112,000 and a small bit of change. It's just below a structural or CTKS resistance level of 112 and 60. What we need to do is to get above this 112.60 level, which puts this 112.617 in play. Now, if we can't do that, we've got a negative CTKS gap, so we could come down to the 111.200 mark. These lines are not random. They're drawn through two levels of standard certification. And you can get this indicator from ctksmethod.org. Unfortunately, so many people guess as to where support and resistance levels are, and a lot of influencers have support and resistance levels that just move all around, all over the place. There is always structure underneath the price chart that you're looking at, and that is exactly what these indicators give you. If you're inside the main markets, Bitcoin signal can throw a very good risk-on or risk-off signal as far as the major indexes go. So what are we seeing here? Currently, we're seeing Bitcoin throw a risk-off signal into the main markets. And that's fair, because the main markets have been going for it. A retracement is normal and nothing to be concerned about. Let's have a look into total crypto market cap, and we can see total crypto market cap has been coming down. Everything moves in a wave, and that is so obvious. Look at all of these waves, up and down, but waves are controlled by structure. So when you have the Bloomberg terminal for total crypto market cap, it looks like this. Now, what is the key level of structural overhead resistance? It's that $3.88 trillion area. Are we coming down into structural support? Yes, we are. That 3.81 looks really good. Where's the other areas you need to pay attention to? Around that 3.83 and also the 3.87. When you do the Advanced Masterclass, you'll know how to read between the charts. Let's just have a quick look at the structural levels below total. We can see that even if we start to grind through these levels, that $3.8 trillion area is really good for the crypto market. And the reason it's got so volatile is because we're getting a little bit of weakness directionally inside the major market index. But as soon as total crypto market cap and also Bitcoin finds support, that's going to be the wave turnaround. Personally, I'm keeping my eye on this $3.8 trillion area. Many people who trade and invest actually don't know where smart money and the algorithms are going to step in and support price and where they're going to push it down. So if you don't know that, you're really disadvantaged because the algorithms will have a field day with you. When we look at ADA, where are those levels? Where are the structural levels? Well, the algorithms were going to come in at that 87.76 mark and seek to push price down, and they've done a really fair job of doing that. And you can note around that 84.42, that's where the algorithms were stepping back into buy. So what you see, this wave-based function is always caused because of structural support and structural resistance. When you know where the structure is, it's an absolute game changer, and you can get this indicator from ctksmethod.org as well. Looking into BNB, we can see some really interesting behavior, and when I was talking about the Bitcoin longs coming out of the market and the fact that BNB is retail sentiment, it's pretty interesting that that was reflected inside BNB's chart. Now, if we throw on Bloomberg Terminal for technical analysis, what does that look like? And remember, we always have to do cross-structural reading. One of the things that we saw, we had so much overhead structural resistance, even though it came up and all the shorts were getting whacked here. It was just a trap to trap the longs and to liquidate them back. One thing a lot of retail do is that they treat a structural level as a brick wall. It is not a brick wall. It's never been. It's a gravitational area. And all total crypto market cap and also Bitcoin and also BNB are required to read when structure hits across the charts. Please let me know in the comments, do you trade ADA or BNB or something else, so I can highlight it structurally in upcoming videos. It's really important to keep positive. Keep your daily positive affirmations for abundance, financial success, and happiness. Always know that the universe wants you to succeed because your success never takes away from another person's. You can show kindness, integrity, and gratitude. Now, why would we bother showing these things? It's such an unkind world out there. The natural inclination when you see unkindness or you see anger and aggression is to be angry and aggressive. But vengefulness doesn't solve problems. It creates them. It compounds them. What we need in this world is more understanding and a little bit less anger. Know that opportunities and life reset daily. This is a really beautiful thing to tell yourself if you're ever feeling down or you feel the weight of the world on your shoulders. Opportunities and life reset all the time. When people exist in a concept of scarcity, they think to get ahead they must pull another person down. With abundance thinking, you know that your success can't impact other people. Everybody is unique and everybody is worthy. You will go through life pullbacks, and those pullbacks will give you the strength for the next life rally. So long as you stay dedicated and committed, you focus on winning or learning and never blaming, you will be a wildly successful person. Blame is just disempowerment. When we blame, we look outside ourselves for something to just pin it on, whatever it is. The most important thing that we can ever do is to simply learn what we needed to learn. Life is always throwing us life lessons. Ignoring a life lesson doesn't make it go away, it makes it just that much harder next time. And we always solve our problems with positive excellence. It's also really important to know that even though you focus on solving your problems with positive excellence, you're a human being. You can get tired, you can get exhausted, you can overreact, you can have a bad day, you can have a lot of different things. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be whole. And one of the best ways to tap into positive excellence, and this is where all the richness comes from life, is just simply the practice of gratitude. If you practice gratitude, you're going to be happier instantly. And after all, isn't that what we're all about? Negative excellence may sound like a lot of fun, but it's a very shallow and empty place to live. And it's full of punishment. Have a great day or night ahead, my friends, and Kate and I look forward to catching up with you again in the next video. Bye for now.